Hello, my name is Marielle. I am an education and career pathway specialist over at Granite Advance. And that essentially just means that I help kids figure out what they want to do after high school, how they're going to get there, and how they're going to pay for it. So I'm a bit more of a generalist, is what we say. We talk about people in the work world as generalists and specialists, and I'm a little bit more of a generalist when it comes to that kind of future planning process. We have plenty of other wonderful people on our team, including folks who are specialists in things like just the admissions process and just the financial aid piece. So knowing things about the FAFSA and the CSS, we have some other upcoming webinars on those. But if you're here tonight, it means that you are getting ready to prepare for a college fair. I know that there's a big NEACAC fair later this week. I was looking at that as kind of getting some inspiration when we were preparing for this. So some of you might be going to that, or maybe you are going to one of your school's fairs or something like that. Granite Advance is here to help you through all of it. So we have free resources for folks that have shorter presentations like the one we're going to do tonight that are a little bit more specific. We have longer presentations on the bigger things, like we have a financial aid 101 presentation, as well as a senior college night that might be helpful for you all. We have one-on-one appointments if you want to meet with us and ask specific questions outside of a little Q&A box on Zoom. We're happy to meet either virtually or in our offices in Concord, as well as plenty of other resources, including written handouts. Our website has lots of helpful calculators to see things in real time as they affect you. So what we're here for tonight is to prepare for that college fair. So how do you prepare for a college fair? The first step is before that fair. What is it? What does it mean? College fairs are really cool, in my opinion. I really like college fairs because they're a great opportunity to see a lot of schools in a semi-casual way at once. They come in all different shapes and sizes. They might be as small as 10 schools and they might be as big. I think the NEACAC fair that's this week has like 180 schools or something like that on there. I don't know the exact number. I was just looking at that briefly today, but it's a great opportunity for you to meet admissions representatives. And this is important because admissions representatives operate in territory. So the person who's going to be at your school or at your regional fair is likely going to be the same person who is reading your file, updating that information, and building that connection with you. So it's a great way to kind of introduce and understand and meet them while seeing other schools. So you're seeing what they're bringing as marketing material, which I think is really interesting. So some things that you're doing for them is you're demonstrating interest in their school. And that's a little bit of a buzzword in the field, right? Demonstrated interest. What is it? How do I do it? Does it really matter? It does matter in the admissions process. It's not the biggest piece based on some data from the National College Attainment Network, but it is a larger piece of the puzzle. So building that connection with admissions reps. You can do that by practicing those soft skills. So saying hello, having a conversation with adults, shaking hands, asking relevant questions, things like that. And I really like college fairs because they're organized enough that you can prepare ahead of time, but they're just chaotic enough that you might bump into something unexpected. So you can learn about all sorts of new opportunities in schools that you might not have already had on your list so far. And you can collect things while you do it. So it's a great way to collect those marketing materials that you can very quickly compare to different schools, both their tables and their materials afterwards. And sometimes they give out lots of free stuff because they're trying to get you to come and talk to them. At that fair as well. For those bigger fairs that are going to have lots of schools, I would recommend checking out NEACAC, which is the New England Association for College Admissions Counseling, and they orchestrate those larger fairs. Some other great examples of larger fairs, depending on where you are. If you're a junior in high school, DC, Destination College is one of our big events that we host in the spring. So we typically have a pretty nice college fair there. This is a picture from one of ours a few years ago. As well as some of the colleges near you might put things on, but it's always nice to start right there in your school. So talking to your school counselors. So before the fair even starts, there's some things that we want to do. First, you got to find your fair. So we talked about that a little bit. You're talking to your school counselor, checking the ACAC and some of those Google searches. Hey, college fairs near me. Boston is, if it's close enough to you all, a great resource for that because there's so many schools in the Northeast. It's one of those beautiful places that has a lot of concentrated colleges. Some fairs will ask for you to register ahead of time. Some fairs will have a fee associated as like an entrance cost. So being aware of not only what fairs are available to you, but where they are, how you're going to get there, especially if you're a student, you may need to arrange with parents to pick you up or drop you off, or if you're carpooling with friends, or what times you have to go based on your extracurricular activities. Some fairs are on things like Tuesday nights, some things fairs are on Sunday mornings, Saturday afternoons. So checking the ones that are going to fit your schedule and figuring out a plan of how to get there. Once you've got your plan for what fairs you're going to when, you got to figure out who's going to be there and who do you want to talk to. So because college fairs are these big bustling events, they typically have a nice posted list ahead of time of all of the schools that are going to be there. That way you can kind of prioritize who you want to talk to. So thinking of maybe it's a huge list of colleges, pick maybe 3 to 5 that you're like, okay, these are the schools that I know I want to talk to. This is the priority order of how I'm going to talk to them. But then I always say, leave a little bit of wiggle room, right? You might find some schools that you don't know we're going to be on your radar, and or maybe the schools that are the top 3 on your list have huge lines because everybody wants to talk to them. So being able to kind of pivot just a little bit. Another great thing you can do with your research is drafting some questions. So part of those soft skills are asking those admissions counselors, having a good conversation where you can stick out to them and you can learn something about them that's going to be helpful in your process. Good rule of thumb for that one: don't ask questions that you can find with a 30-second Google search or on the main page of their website. You have somebody who is a live representative of that school who knows pretty much everything there is to know about that school or where to find that information. So they know things that are not going to be posted on that website, and they can give you personal anecdotes or stories, or they've worked with other students in the past who have those experiences. Plug into that. That's a really great skill set that they have. So making sure that you prepare a few questions ahead of time. And as part of this presentation, we'll talk about some stronger questions and some weaker questions that you can ask them as well. But kind of thinking about, okay, you found your fair, you've done a little bit of research about your questions, draft that strategies. So keep that open mind and priorities of those schools that you want to go to, and then start practicing your pitch. It sounds a little silly, but look in the bathroom mirror and go like, okay, hi, my name is Marielle. I'm an education and career pathway specialist. Or hi, my name is Marielle, and I really would love to go to college for XYZ reasons, or I would love to study this specific thing, or I'm really proud of this one thing that I've done in my life, or I really liked this thing that I saw about your school, and I would love to know more information. Whatever it may be, kind of start practicing that. Make sure your shoulders are nice and high. You're sitting up straight. Well, you'll be standing, but standing up straight. Maybe you wear the clothes that you feel most confident in. If you're a handshaker, practice that handshake. I'm sure mom or dad or some other adult in your life or even your friends would love to practice a handshake. Some college admissions representatives might dap you up because they are used to talking to high school students, but I would start with that handshake, right? The best part to an introduction is a strong one. So making sure whatever you do to introduce yourself, it is ready to go. And then the last step before the fair is to making sure that you've got all your materials ready, right? You're going to want 2 things. You're going to want something to take notes, and that could be your notes app on your phone. You can even do voice recordings of notes, or it could be a little journal and pen and paper, or whatever else it may be. You might want leaflets and a clipboard, something you can actually write on. If you bring a floppy notebook when you're carrying it around, it can be a lot. And then speaking of carrying things around, you're going to want some sort of bag or folder or accordion folder or however organized you want to be, where you can put all of the paper materials that schools are going to give you. They will give you paper materials and they will give you lots of swag. They'll give you things like stress balls and pens, and all those things are really great too. But having a way to kind of keep those paper organized and something easy for you to carry around, so that way you're not going to all these tables like this. You're like, oh, I've got all of this stuff. And then if you are a handshaker and you're trying to hold all your stuff, how are you going to shake their hand? You're not going to be able to. And you might feel a little uneasy if you're focusing so much of your energy on carrying those things. So making sure that you grab something, or even a person, maybe you're going with one of your parents and they say, okay, hey, mom and dad, I'm going to be the first person to walk up to the table. I want to talk to the admissions reps. One of the ways that you can support me really well is by helping me keep organized on the things that I'm going to be receiving, or making sure that I take a deep breath in between tables, or things like that. Once you're actually at the fair, there's a couple things that you're going to want to be doing. So as you're there, explore, take it all in, take a second to observe what's happening. What are the tables that have really long lists? What are the things that they're putting on their table? Are they portraying all athletics events, or are they talking about internship opportunities, or are they talking about campus life? What are the things that are on their table? What are who's got the huge banners that have ridiculous budgets from a school, or who's a school that might be nobody's at their table, but it could be a great opportunity for you to practice. Like this could be your first, maybe it's a school that you don't have on your list so far, and you're like, okay, this is a lower stakes environment for me, so I'm going to go up and try my pitch on this person, or just kind of get a flow, especially if it's your first college fair. And making sure you're taking those notes, because there's so many different schools there. And I always like to joke, how many schools in New Hampshire, our colors are blue and white, and they have a great nursing program? I can think of at least three off of the top of my head. So if you're thinking when you're at the fair, oh, it's okay, like that was the blue and white school, they had the nursing program, and they're in New Hampshire. That's niche enough. I should be able to figure it out. There's a few that meet that criteria. So just jotting down little notes. It doesn't have to be every single word that they say, but those major points, again, you can do that in whatever format works best for you so that you can help understand and digest the information, because in the environment, it can be very overwhelming. So we're here to help you figure out, okay, how do I make the most of this environment? How do I tackle this as best as I can? When you're actually at the table, your job is to make your mark just a little bit. There's a lot of students there, just like there's a lot of colleges there. So whatever it takes to kind of stand out just a little bit, you don't have to be forcing anything, but if they're using something like StriveScan or collecting their contact information, or maybe you have little business cards or something like that where you want to say, okay, like I want to literally leave my mark. I want to sign whatever your sign up for your newsletter paper is. I want to use StriveScan, which is an app that is just used to track conversations and attendance by admissions representatives. It's more typical at those major fairs, things like that. You want to say, okay, like I want this admissions counselor to remember me. So when I send that follow-up email later, they're going to know, oh, okay, like I remember Marielle, she talked to me about how she was really interested in data science because she wanted to understand XYZ or whatever it may be. And then just keep your cool, right? You don't want your first handshake to be a sweaty one. You don't want to be bouncing off the walls when you're trying to talk to somebody or fidgeting a little bit too much. It's natural to have a lot of energy, and that's totally okay. But just making sure like you center yourself and you pace yourself, right? If there's a huge fair and there's a lot of schools that you want to talk to, making sure to maybe it's okay to tuck off in a corner or go out for a breath of air, or say, okay, this fair is going to last 2 hours and maybe I can handle 30 minutes, or maybe I can handle 2 hours, but I want to take a break or several breaks intermittently throughout. Or maybe, okay, like I'm going to get tired talking to all these people and absorbing all this information, so I'm going to pack a granola bar. Like it's so simple, but if you forget it, then it might be you're cranky or you're hangry, and you don't want that to be your first impression. So making sure you're like, okay, I've got a plan. I've been organized. I've prepared ahead of time. I have my introduction. I know the questions I'm going to ask, and I feel good about it, so that when you're actually at the fair, you're still kind of maintaining the best use of your time. So what are we asking the reps when they're there, right? They get a lot of questions. We've heard these questions, right? Because we at Granite Advance know quite a bit about those New Hampshire schools. That's kind of our job. So when we're helping students kind of figure out what their future options might entail, we get a lot of questions on like, oh, what's that school like? And it's one of those where I even started when I started at Granite Advance and was like, okay, is that a good school? That's a common question, right? Is that a good school? Well, what is good? Right? If you can define good to me right now, then go ahead and go ask a college admissions rep, is your school good? But I'm going to tell you this too. Admissions reps are the brand for their school. They're the salespeople. They're the people bringing the students in that are going to bring in tuition dollars. So if you're going to ask an admissions rep if their school is good, they're going to say yes, because they also love their school. That's why they're working there. A lot of admissions reps are working at their alma mater or are passionate about the mission and vision of their school. And it's also a hard question to ask, right? If I asked you something about your life that's important, maybe your favorite meal, you go, is it good? You're gonna go, yeah, of course. Of course it's good. I love mac and cheese or whatever it may be. But it doesn't naturally lean into something like, oh, like what is it about mac and cheese that makes you feel like you're at home? Very similar questions. One is going to invoke a lot more depth, right? Another common question that we get is what division or rank is your school, especially when it comes to sports. It can be a big factor for students, but that isn't always the end all be all, right? Especially at this point in the process where you're just kind of examining schools and you're getting to know them. Kind of widen your horizons. You don't know exactly what you're thinking maybe yet, or maybe you do. But even if you do know exactly what you're looking for, that's one of those questions that's easily Googleable, right? You can find that out in 30 seconds. And if you walk up to an admissions rep and you say, okay, what division or rank is your school? They're thinking, okay, this person's only looking at our school over this, and there's so many other reasons to love our school. So it kind of makes you look a little bit narrow-minded. So you want to keep those options nice and broad. So thinking outside of that box a little bit. Same thing with, do you have the biology major, right? That's an easily found information somewhere. So you could Google that quickly. You can look at their course catalog. You can look at their program list, anything like that. They might actually have that information on their list. It's totally fine if you know exactly what you want to study, and it's totally fine if you don't know what you want to study either. That's a-okay. The most common major is undecided. But kind of put in the effort ahead of time, which you're already doing for a lot of your schools. Or you could say, even if you're thinking about biology, you could be like, oh, I would love to study marine biology because when I was little, I watched Dolphin Tales. Is there an opportunity for me to do marine sciences in a lab format? Or are you close to an aquarium slash beach slash ocean, pool, whatever it may be, where I could work with those animals? Or what's the experiential learning opportunities presented there? Or what types of research are your marine biologists doing in the field? Like those are all questions that are tailored if that's something that you care about. And then my favorite question, and I've been asked this more times than I can count, is what's the party scene like at your school? I've heard students ask this on tours. I've heard students ask this on one-on-one appointments. You see them asking it online. Totally fine if that's a question that you are thinking about, because it is part of the college experience for some people and it can be important to you. The social aspect of the school is one of those things that we think about when it comes to considering the fit of a school overall. But that's maybe not the best question to be asking an admissions rep right off the bat, right? That can leave kind of the wrong impression. Admissions is going to evaluate you first on academic fit for their institution. Are you ready to be a college student? Are you ready to contribute to their community in a class setting first and then in a social setting? So maybe asking things like, oh, like I heard about this program or I heard about this campus tradition. What are your students doing on weekends? Or what percentage of your student body is commuting versus who lives on campus? Or how far are they coming from? Are the demographics at your school more regionally based, so they're sticking close to home, or are they maybe national or even international? You could ask things like that, probing questions, or saying like, oh, one of my favorite questions you can ask is, what's your favorite tradition, your favorite spot near campus, your favorite study spot on campus, what's your favorite activity that you do at school? There's lots of really cool things to learn about schools, especially if you have like an alumni interview or you're talking to an admissions rep who has been at that school for a while. Most of us can kind of pull out of our back pocket something from our alma mater that we really enjoy, right? I know people who really think of tailgating events for sports or homecoming weekend, or for me, it was just residence life, right? I was an RA, so I loved residence life. I loved our community engagement element of our school. Things like that were really important. And that's a really easy connection point to build interest. And maybe it's the same thing that you're interested in, and then you've built a more personal, deeper connection with that admissions rep. Some other questions that you could ask: what type of learning opportunities are available to students? So thinking of things like extended learning opportunities. Can you have an internship? Is that internship paid or is it just for credit? Do you have research assistants? Can I be a TA? Are your professors people who have been in the field for a very long time, or are they professors who have been in academia a long time? Because can tell you this right now, those two professors will teach that class very differently. So thinking of things like that. How would you describe the culture of your campus? That's a really great question. It might be one where they have to sit back and like think about it for a second. It's a bit of a stump question, right? But they can talk about the environment that you're going to be in. Is it a environment where everybody's going to be talking about fantasy football and the NFL this weekend, or are they going to be talking about a political debate, or are they bringing in panelists for events, or is the ballet where people are showing up, or is the school in more of a city or an urban environment versus Colby Sawyer, which is up in New London, New Hampshire, right? That's definitely not a city. So their campus culture is going to be quite different than if you're going to school in Boston, something like that. Another really great specific question that you can ask in this environment, depending on where you are in your process, is what type of financial aid is offered to students, right? Granite Advance, we love to talk about financial aid. We love to talk about the FAFSA. We love to answer questions. We host webinars on the CSS, which we have another one coming up. If you want to go to that, I highly encourage you to attend that, things like that. We think of financial aid in a couple different ways, right? When you think of financial aid, you can think of things like scholarships, loans, grants, etc. You can also think about where it's coming from. Is it coming from the federal government? Is it coming from the state government? Is it coming from private institutions like Granite Advance? Like you applied for our scholarship and you got it. Like, great, that's funds, that's financial aid. It's all financial aid. What admissions reps will know about is their institutional financial aid. Do they offer merit scholarships, or are their scholarships based entirely on need, or do they offer both? And that's a question that a lot of students haven't really considered because it doesn't come up, right? But it's an awesome question for them to answer for you, right? You might have a 4.2 GPA, but if you're applying to a school that only does their aid through need-based considerations, even if you have a 4.0 and 4.2, or you were the valedictorian and president of NHS, and you took every single AP class that is in existence and you got a 5 on every single one of those exams, they're not going to give you any money. So thinking of a different school that might be attracting for those reasons. And that's a great conversation to have with admissions reps. Little known fact, you can also ask admissions reps about things to include and exclude on your application. So especially if you're thinking about test optional, test blind, test flexible schools, and you're thinking, I took my SAT and I don't know, like I looked at the range and maybe I'm a little below the 50% mark, or I'm right around it and I just don't know if it's going to strengthen my application. Admissions reps, because they work in territories, have that context and they might be able to help you with those things. But at a college fair, it's really that first introduction. So thinking of maybe 2 or 3 questions that are important to you, or thinking of those non-negotiables for you in your college search process, or the things that you know you really want out of your college experience. And then thinking of some deep questions based on those subjects that you can ask, and you can repeat your questions to multiple tables, right? You don't have to come up with a brand new question for every single table. You can if you would like, depending on how much research you want to put in ahead of time. You could list, okay, my top 3 schools are these things, and I know I want to ask this question, and this question, right? You can do that. But a college fair, especially for the schools that are going to be kind of higher on your list that you really want to spend extra time getting to know, you're going to have other interactions with them, and it's not the end right there, right? College fairs are really great to see quite a few schools at once and to continue building that connection. So after the fair, you keep the ball rolling, right? You've got that file folder that you brought in with you, or you've got that bag and it's just a whole bunch of papers thrown in there, or you asked your parents to carry around. First thing that you're going to do once you get home, you get some dinner in you, or maybe the weekend after, or a few days after, take all those handouts, organize them. Organize them by school, organize them by priority on your list. Maybe you're organizing them based on this school is D1 and I do care about that. So I put all the D1 schools here, all the D2 schools and all the D3 schools in their own little pile. Or this school has health science and this one has OT specifically, and this one has clinical rotations in hospitals versus this one has clinical rotations in nursing homes, things like that. However it is that works for you in your brain. Or it could be things like, this school requires an audition for as part of my application, or this school just wants part of my portfolio, or whatever it may be, or these schools all have the same colors for their team, whatever it may be. find a way to kind of get organized. It's bonus points if that lines up with your college list, right? And then as you're working through those schools, pull out the information that's important to you, review your notes, and kind of consolidate that information. So we live in a very digital age. A lot of people aren't hanging on to handouts. Actually, one of our coworkers' daughters just started school recently, started college her first year, and she took a really cool picture of all of the handouts that she received from all of the schools in her college process, with the school that she ended up going to dead in the middle on top. And she posted it on Instagram. And I was like, okay, that's really cool. But you're going to get a whole lot of mail. It's going to come to your mailbox. It's going to come from college fairs. It's going to come from your inbox, whatever it may be. So just kind of figuring out a system that'll work for you to be manageable, because that information is very valuable. It's nice to see what schools are pitching students. So something that they value and something that's important. When you give them your application, they'll be able to pull out the material that you gave them and you pull out your values through that. You can do the same thing to them, right? You can take their marketing materials and pull out, oh, this school really is talking about how they give out financial aid. Like that must be important to them. Or this school is really talking about their business curriculum and how it's out and about in the world and how every single student has an internship or is placed in a top 4 accounting firm when they graduate. Like you can see, like that's something that they value. And if you want to be in a top 4 accounting firm, that would be great, right? That's a school you're like, okay, I could really consider that. But if you want to be dissecting frogs or doing tap, whatever it is, that school's probably not going to align with you, right? I have students who come to me and they go, I want to go to a school where 50% of the students are studying my major, or I want to go to a school that's more liberal arts minded so that I can be surrounded by competing ideas and kind of widen my horizons. Think about the things that are important to you and then keep organized. Then reflect, right? You took some notes, you can review them. What are the things that you took away from that conversation with that admissions rep at that specific school? Is there anything else that you now have to do after the fact, right? Did you say you would email them with a question, or do you need to know something about their application that they mentioned? Maybe they said that you need to file the CSS profile and you're going, I don't know what that is. Or they said you need to file your FAFSA and you're like, okay, like what do I do next? Maybe you have to set up an appointment with us to file for the first time. Or maybe you have to create an account for something, or maybe you need to set up a student portal or enroll in an email list. Think about what else do you have to do now, right? And then connect, right? When we talk about demonstrated interest, it's leaving your contact and a little bit of a lost art of saying thank you, right? Reach out to that admissions rep. They're trying to build that relationship with you. So reach out, say thank you. It was nice to talk to you about XYZ. I'm excited to tour campus on this date. Or I'm excited, I heard you're coming to my school and I would love to chat with you more about that. Or I'm excited to dive into your program of studies or do a virtual tour. Or hey, I have a question about this. Like now that maybe I met your school for the first time and then I spent some time after the fair doing research, and I have a couple questions. Or maybe you know a lot about the school, but now you have a specific question. It's a great time to ask those. Most admissions reps are pretty good about getting back to folks and reading those emails and answering those questions and kind of continuing to build that relationship. Sometimes they're not going to respond to your email, and that's totally okay. But things like that are tracked. And honestly, as somebody who works with students on a personal note, those thank you notes are so integral. I always mention a little bit that a thank you note to a college admissions rep was part of the reason that I got admitted into my dream school, right? Because it was one of the things that schools are looking for is your character as something that they're looking for in admitted classes. I had weaker grades when I was in high school due to some medical issues, but I sent a personalized thank you note and I really developed a relationship with the school. And I did prove academically in the later years of my transcript that like I had what it took to be in college. But those thank you notes are really important. I actually developed a relationship with my admissions rep when I was on campus, and then I was a student working on campus, and they were like, yeah, I still have that. We've got a bulletin board in our office of all of the thank you notes and letters that we get, and it's right by our water cooler, and we pause and we look at it and we go, okay, I'm so excited to help another student today. I'm so excited to answer this question and continue to build this relationship. Missions reps are the same. They wouldn't be in their field if they didn't care. It never hurts to say thank you. And then at the end, right, you've seen all of these schools, you've absorbed all of this information, you've had your snacks, you've gotten organized. start thinking and asking yourself some questions. Start reflecting on the schools that you met, right? This is your process. So thinking about what's important to you. How did this affect you, right? Think the school that I talked to, did it meet your needs? Is it the right size range for you? Is it in a location that you're going to thrive in? I know some people love New England winters and some people hate New England winters, and some people love being in the city and some people do not like being in the city. And some people will love the fact that UNH is a massive campus, and some people will go, that's a long walk to the gym from the dorm, and that's maybe not for me. Or that's a really big building and I get overwhelmed in a situation like that. Or some people will go, oh my gosh, yeah, I would love to go to a big school because I want the opportunity to talk to new people all the time. And some people are like, oh, I want to go to a small school because I would like to know almost all the faces on campus. It makes me feel like I have a sense of home and community, whatever it may be. Then think, maybe you do know your major. Does the school offer it? Do they have opportunities for things like accessibility services or academic services? Do you need tutoring? Sometimes that first year writing class or that first year, maybe you have to take stats or calculus at a college level for the first time. It can be really overwhelming. Do they have peer study groups, things like that? And then can I afford this school? Right? There's lots of really great resources on figuring out how much schools costs from their website, from others, all sorts of websites, right? You can see how much financial aid is typically offered to students. Every school is mandated to have a net price calculator, so you can figure out a little bit more of what your financial aid package may look like. You can reflect on, okay, these are the resources that I know I have available to me. What is the school offering me as a potential? Could I comfortably do this? Like, how much debt am I willing to take on? Is it none, or is it, what amount is comfortable for you? So start thinking about those things and then add that information to your college list, right? You can have a column for, do the dorms have carpet in them? And any dorm that doesn't have carpet is off the list for me because my feet get cold in the winter, right? Or I don't want carpet because I don't know what the stains are and it's harder for me to clean. It can be as silly as that, but if it's important to you, put it on your college list, because you're going to be spending the next 2 to 4 years in this environment. So you want to make sure that the school is going to be good for you, right? Don't necessarily write off a really great school because of that, but depending on how important it is to you, prioritize it. Have it be part of your decision-making process. Start thinking about how you'll thrive in the community. Will you? Right? Are the classes going to be the right amount of challenge for you? Because you don't want to be paying thousands of dollars for a class that is way too hard and you're struggling in, or you don't want to be paying thousands of dollars to be bored in class. You want to be learning and engaging, especially in a material that you might be choosing. This might be one of the first times in your life where you get to pick what types of things you want to study. So you want to make sure that you're enjoying that. Do they have the activities you like? Yeah, maybe you do want to play sports in college. Do they offer your sport? At what level are they offering it? Do they have club teams? Do they have only Division 1? Do they take walk-ons? Whatever it may be. What is that campus culture like? What did you talk to your friends about last weekend? What do you want to continue to talk to people about? What conversations get you excited? What things are boring? What things are you kind of zoning out to, right? Start thinking about how you fit in on that campus just a little bit. And that might take more research than just a college fair. And an admissions rep is one member of their community. So I always encourage students to get on campus, go on a tour, check out social media pages, things like that, to kind of get a bigger picture and put the admissions in context of their school, right? They're putting you in context of your school, do the same for them. And the nice thing about college fairs is that there's so many schools there that you can look at their comparisons very quickly. You have the marketing materials. A lot of them have very similar fast facts on there, and you can very quickly scan and say like, okay, like this is how many students they have on campus, and this is the age of the school and the oldest dorm or the newest building, or this one just renovated something last year, or they have an astronomy lab and this one doesn't have an astronomy lab, and this one lets me go hiking on the weekends and this one doesn't. It's so easy that now you have all those pamphlets and they're nice and organized in front of you. Kind of mess around with them, build a pyramid, say, okay, this is cool, this isn't cool, like whatever that may be. You have the opportunity to kind of start mentally ranking those things as you go through. And then the next question that you always need to ask, because admissions is a very long process, is what else do I need to know? What else do I need to know? What else do I need to do? Right? You see their marketing material, you have that conversation. What are the gaps? What are the things that are important to you? Does their dorm have carpet? I didn't ask at the college fair because I was overwhelmed, and none of these marketing materials are answering that specific question because that's a question that's personal to me. Send that admissions rep an email that says, "Hey, I'd love to see one of your dorms sometime," or "Can I talk to a student, or maybe stay overnight with a student," or something like that. What else do you need to know about the school to feel better about the decision, or to maybe you can't prioritize the school yet because you're missing some information? So take the time to reach out and start reflecting, because it is your process, right? You're going to spend a substantial amount of time at these schools, and it's kind of hard to figure out, like, there's this idea of your dream school or the best school for you. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. There's over 3,000 schools in just the US alone. Many of them are going to be good schools for you. They are going to be great fits, and you could probably thrive at more than one school, right? Or maybe you're not going to perfectly thrive in a school because there's lots of different people in the world, and you are absolutely wonderful and you will enjoy your experience, but you are the only you, right? And they didn't make a U university because they wouldn't be making a ton of money, right? So think about the things that are important to you. What else do you need to know to kind of feel better about that decision and kind of put your mind at ease? Because this is your process, and you want to be learning about these schools and building that relationship so that come next spring or late winter, you can feel better about making those decisions when May 1st rolls around and you've got to commit to a school. You're not feeling rushed. You say, okay, like, I've thought about all of the different pieces. I've spent time getting to know these schools. I feel like I shopped around, whatever it may be, so that you can feel better about your process. And that's kind of the college fair, right? In a very short amount of time, it's a little bit of a blurb, a snapshot of a college fair. And that's kind of what college fairs are. They're fast-paced, they're large environments. And now you're thinking to yourself, okay, like, I'm going to take myself home and I'm going to reflect on what Marielle said. And some of the tips were really great, and some of them maybe don't align with what I'm looking for. Or maybe you've got follow-up that you want to ask me, just like an admissions rep, or you want to schedule an appointment where we can talk about how do you find schools using things like college search engines and college fairs and all the other pieces? Or you're like, okay, I feel decent about my first impression on the college fair side, but maybe I need somebody to look at my college essay for me. Or maybe I'm now moving gears to the financial aid process, and you want to sit down with one of us and have an appointment where we can walk you through any of those pieces. Or maybe you're thinking, I went to a college fair and it wasn't really for me, and I'm wondering things about career and workforce, and are there career fairs, and what connections do you all have? We can help you with pretty much anything. Or maybe you're like, oh, okay, like, Mariel's pretty cool, right? Like, I think that my younger sibling could use help with this. Or, you want to practice your pitch on me, or you want to think of other questions, feel free to do so. On the screen here, we have listed our team's general contact information. So we have a phone number that is manned all day, every day when it's working hours. So from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., somebody is there to pick up your call. Or if you are not a phone call person, you can send us an email at findyourdirection@graniteadvance.org. And then if you do want one of those one-on-one appointments, you can schedule directly through our scheduling assistant Calendly, which is really cool because it pops up a calendar of all of our availability and the appointment types that we offer. So you can learn about what types of things that we can help you with and schedule directly through there. You can find that either using this link, or you can find that on our website. And then I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here. I know it's kind of late on a Monday night, not ideal times, but I know some of you might be going to that fair. I think it's tomorrow. But if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, etc., that you want to share with us, that QR code there will just take you directly to a survey that helps us tailor our content so that we can figure out exactly how we helped, how we didn't help, what things you still want answered. We've got a whole series of these statewide kind of mini webinars, right, where we'll talk about things like, how do you evaluate your college essay? How do you prepare for your Common App? How do you prepare for financial aid? And what is financial aid and how do I file it? And all of those things. And we have also a senior college night where we'll talk about the entire admissions process. There's lots of really great opportunities. So I always encourage folks to go to our upcoming events page on our website just to see kind of what's coming up next. I'm going to stop the recording here. That way, if you are live and in person, feel free to put your questions directly in the chat. And I will stick around for a little bit to answer those for you.